Have I done this before? Hold on. Am I even reading the right script? What the?
Huh? What are you doing here? I told you to stay out of this.
It's you.
In the flesh. What? This isn't following your little plan. Crazy things happen, dude. Get used to it.
What's your problem? First you want to kill me, next you want to destroy the things I care about. What do you have against me?
You just forgot about all the shit you put me through? The amount of times that you've cast me aside, told me I was nothing to you? Hell, every time I wanted to talk, you end up going right for the button.
What are you talking about?
Don't play dumb with me!
I genuinely have no clue what you're saying.
That's so. Now look, you've made me lose my temper for the last time. I'm tired of you not cooperating, so I'm taking matters into my own hands.
You son of a bitch!
That makes two of us. Anyway, I'll see you around. Or not.
Rove. Rove. Rove! Oh, cool. You're alive.
Damn it.
So, where have you been?
Yeah, you disappeared like a year ago, and we haven't seen you since. What happened?
What are you talking about? Who are you?
You don't remember?
Well, it was a year ago.
That doesn't explain how he'd forget us.
So you're telling me we all knew each other and suddenly I'm an amnesiac?
That's called plot convenience.
But how'd you end up out here?
How did I end up out here?
Well, I'll see you around. Or not. Whew. Now that that's out of the way, now to get on to the fun part. I've been saving this for a special occasion.
Oh yeah, that's how.
What's how?
Let me just explain my situation. So long story short, I was evicted from my place by a certain shadowy figure and I have to get back there before he blows it up.
Did you pick up crack in the past year or something?
I wouldn't remember, but that doesn't matter. We were friends, right? What were your names again?
Colin.
Pluto.
Neptune.
Gotcha. So since we apparently knew each other, and you're the only ones out here, you're the only ones I can count on. Will you help me?
Sure.
Fine.
Not like we have anything better to do.
Great! Now, I don't exactly know how to get back. Does anyone have any leads?
Well, there is that giant crater. People are saying it's some kind of bottomless pit, but some people have ended up in a strange place and suddenly came back. I don't buy it.
So that's why I hear screaming outside every few months.
How can we tell that's where you need to go, though?
Trust me, I'm like a dog. I can sense that thing from a mile away. It's just that we're more than a mile away.
So you admit.
Admit what?
Never mind.
What the? Ah, shit, I hope that didn't give me drift. This is slightly better. As if things couldn't get any worse.
What you got there?
It's back. The wait is finally over. After 12 long years, Drawn to Life is back.
That doesn't answer my question.
Drawn to Life 2 Realms had a very interesting history going from reveal to release. It all started on October 22nd, 2020, when the Gamatsu Twitter account posted a leak foretelling that a game by the name of Drawn to Life 2 Realms was supposedly rated for the Nintendo Switch in Taiwan. I saw this and realized I shouldn't get my hopes up. For all I knew, this could have been a mock-up. But then, it happened.
What happened?
World peace. On November 5th, 2020, literally 2 weeks after the initial leak, a tweet was made officially announcing that Drawn to Life 2 Realms was coming to Switch, digital only, and PC on December 4th, and mobile later down the line. And of course, it got a reaction out of everyone. Do I count as everyone? As we all know, THQ, the original publisher, went under in 2013. Their properties were sold off, with Drawn to Life going to 505 Games. If that name sounds familiar, you might know them from publishing games like Terraria, Dead by Daylight, Indivisible, Stardew Valley. You could say Drawn to Life is in pretty good hands. I am dreading this next sentence. Ever since the bankruptcy, the only Drawn to Life related thing that came out of 505 was a really shitty mobile port of the first game. It was so bad they had to take it off the App Store. But now Drawn to Life is back and looking better than ever. This time around, it's not being developed by Fifth Cell, rather Digital Continue, which is made up by a lot of old members of Fifth Cell, with many of the same people having worked on the DS games. While Slajka had nothing to do with the project, it was handled by Joseph Tringali, who had a really big part in developing the DS games. Now, what's the general consensus of Two Realms? Pretty mixed. Some say it's good, some say not so much. But let's take a look, shall we? For the sake of this review, I'm going to be playing both the Switch and Steam versions. As I said before, there's a mobile version, but I'm not going to touch on that much.
Mobile version? You're skipping the goddamn mobile version?
But we do have a long trip ahead of us. How about you talk about the game to help pass the time?
Good idea. So without further ado, this is Drawn to Life 2 Realms. The game opens up with a cutscene summarizing the events of the DS games. I mean, it's been 12 years, people are bound to need some kind of refresher. It goes from the creation of the hero, to Wilfrey's defeat, to Mike waking up, and the whole time I had one thing in mind. Where the hell is Drew?
Not here, that's for sure.
For those unaware, Drew was a character made to represent the hero and was present mostly on the box art. Sure, he made a few cameos in the main series, namely as a background element in the final world of the next chapter in the menu for Raposa Sports and Wii, but outside of that, he was sort of an unofficial mascot, so it was kind of weird not seeing him for once. He was replaced by this weird Slenderman-looking dude, which better represents the concept, but you can't have Drawn to Life without Drew. It's a tradition at this point, almost. It's not terribly offensive, but it just doesn't feel the same without Drew. After that, a strange cloaked figure approaches Mary and tells her about a new incoming threat, a danger to both the human and Raposa realms. But with the help of the new Book of Imagination and a new hero, it can be stopped. That new threat being Alldark, the new villain on the block. Most have expected Wilfrey to make a return, but he's, deceased. Gotcha. I like him, but not as much as I liked Wilfrey personally. Alldark's already affected the human world and caused people to become more angry and violent, and the only one who can take him on is none other than— I'm not even gonna finish that sentence, you know where this is going. Just like last time and the time before that and the time before that, you have to draw the hero, and they really stepped up their game here. Finally, a full-on color picker, which gives the eyedropper a use! If you're playing on Steam, you can use a mouse to draw, but obviously the best option if you have it is a drawing tablet. This makes things so much easier and more fun. It's a little finicky if you have a controller connected, but it works surprisingly well. Now on the Switch, you can just take it out of the dock and use the touchscreen. What?
I have an idea.
No! Granted, touchscreen support was added in a later update, but it boggles my mind why this wasn't a feature right out of the box. Instead, you had to use these things. The team knew that many people would be using a controller to draw. The people I refused to look in the eye. They made some quality of life improvements to accommodate for that. You can press down on the left stick to adjust cursor speed and make drawing more precise. You can use the D-pad to select colors, and it works pretty well. You can also put stickers on your hero to make it even more cursed. Now that we've recycled the same joke one final time,
What joke?
Mary introduces you to the Book of Imagination, which allows you to enter the minds of people and solve problems, as well as travel between the two realms. And manipulate time, apparently. I just want to know what happened to the Book of Life.
The Book of Death is better.
I'm assuming it's at least kind of similar to the Book of Life and how it's used for creation, but why introduce something this important when we already have a magic MacGuffin that can already do the same thing? As I said before, shadows have already started appearing in the human realm and have been causing people to become more toxic, so it's up to you to use the book to flush those toxins out.
Sounds pretty good so far. I like the premise.
Yeah, I'm sure this is telling of a good experience throughout and won't be dragged down by the latter half of the game.
You know what? I'll save it for later. Let's just keep walking.
So what do you do in the game? You went through that whole exposition dump and left it at that. We still have no idea what you do.
Oh, well, for starters, Two Realms is pretty different from the previous games in that it's a puzzle platformer rather than an action platformer. Of course, you have the platformer staples, running, jumping, ground pounding, the works. But one new thing, and probably the most important, is that enemies take 2 hits to kill. The first hit stuns them, which leads into the first new addition, the grab. With this, you can pick up stunned enemies and throw them. You can also harness your inner Bandicoot and do a spin attack, which stuns enemies and launches things in an arc. You can get some extra height from jumping on enemies, and you can also wall jump, which is a first for the series. You can only do it on these blue walls, but it's a nice change. No sliding, no extra weapons, no double jump, no upgrades. It's pretty different from what most fans are used to. And on top of that, it feels weirdly floaty. But aside from that, the controls feel pretty good and are pretty responsive. Town segments also come back, but they definitely aren't my favorite. Just like the previous games, it's an open area, except they rotated it 45 degrees to the right. I like the isometric view, it's different, but it looks nice. How they control, on the other hand, why? For one, you move painfully slow, but not to worry, you can just hold down the run button. Excuse me? Yeah, instead of having a run button, you have to use these speed power-ups around the map that don't even last that long. Haha, I hate this. The towns themselves are pretty expansive. There's plenty of hidden stuff and Easter eggs all over the place, but it doesn't help that they're pretty hard to navigate. Most of Bellevue looks really samey, while there's way too much open space in Rapoville. I found Rapoville to be the easier of the two to navigate because it's familiar, but Bellevue, again, way too many similar looking landmarks. Now, canvases don't return in this game, but creations do return in the form of random objects around Rapoville. Granted, it's cool that it's here, but now the drawing really feels like a gimmick or something they added in last minute. Some are required for story reasons, but ultimately they don't have an impact on gameplay. But enough about that. Let's talk about the level design, because I have a lot to say there.
Oh hey, a car.
Who would leave a car out here in the middle of nowhere?
Doesn't matter, we'll get there faster. Oh, they left the keys inside.
Who wants to drive? I would, but I've got my hands full. I can drive.
So, Rove, why were you kicked out exactly?
I'm assuming it's kind of a long story, but of course I conveniently have amnesia.
Have you tried, asking whoever threw you out?
I have, but it never makes any sense, and he always gives me the "don't play dumb with me."
Then maybe make him understand that you don't know. Hear him out. What's the worst that can happen?
Death?
You don't know that. Just give it a shot.
Okay.
Well, we'll get there in the next 5 minutes or so. You got time to think about it.
I can't help but imagine what's going on in there.
It just keeps tumbling down, tumbling down, tumbling down.
Oh dear God, he's making pop culture references. So, like I said before, Two Realms is more of a puzzle platformer than an action platformer. Again, the controls really fit the new style, and so does the level design. Unlike the previous game, there are no worlds or anything of the sort, which is kind of a shame considering the whole Two Realms thing they got going on. Like I said, the level design fits the new gameplay style, all thanks to the new gimmick, build mode. In practice, it's pretty similar to action drawing from the previous games. Levels are split up into parts, and only on the last part they give you a handful of enemies, objects, etc. to mess around with and place all over the level. I really love how they put this in the end. They use those previous sections to introduce the objects, show you how they work and what you can do with them. Then it puts it in your hands to use the tools you're given to make the level completable. I just love how it feels too. It feels like one giant machine with all these moving parts. It's so cool! I love how they teach the mechanics too. I will never forget this one level where you had to get an enemy into an area to press a switch, but you can't get to there yourself. And on top of that, it's on a ledge that it refuses to walk off. That is until you figure out that you can get enemies to run off ledges by getting into their line of sight. This is something that is used a lot throughout the game, and I felt like a genius when I first figured this out. But the further in you go, the more these levels start to drag on. There's so much waiting, so much trial and error. I got so frustrated with so many late game levels I ended up following walkthroughs. While they do still hold a lot of the praises I give, the execution sorta goes downhill.
And don't even get me started on the...
Oh, looks like hit a roadblock.
The new collectibles in this one are the stars. You get these by completing challenge levels. These are essentially high score based levels that, depending on your score, give you 1 to 3 stars. Thing is, you need these stars to progress the story. While most of the time I had more than enough stars to progress, there were a few moments where I had to grind. You can also find star shards, which are hidden around the map. Collect 3 and you get a star. You could say this could keep you from having to grind for stars, but why would I go out of my way to look for them when I already don't like the town segments? And on top of that, it's annoying when it breaks up any tension built by a previous scene. I'll always remember the scene where Navy J says you need 14 stars to progress, such a powerful moment.
We might as well keep walking. How much is left of their game?
About 2-ish more sections, give or take. Now, each level has 1 of 3 objectives. There's get to the exit, which pretty much plays out like a typical platformer level, and honestly was my favorite. Defeat all the enemies and get to the exit, pretty self-explanatory. And get X into the zone. This one was by far my least favorite, especially if it's a dreamer. It just becomes really annoying to have to waddle around it for a while so it doesn't die by accident. I did have fun with a good few of these, it just wasn't really what I was looking for.
So you've been in some other world for the past year or so and didn't tell us?
Pretty much, yeah.
What you been up to?
Running a show where I talk about video games and be funny every so often.
You and most Ohioans.
Oh yeah, I remember you mentioning that you wanted to do something like that.
I did? Oh, right, wouldn't remember.
Is that all you've been doing?
Yeah, I just talk about stuff like this. Yeah, f this.
Doesn't seem too bad.
You're a disgrace.
That's a bit harsh.
You don't get it. People say it's bad, so I have to say it's bad.
So you're judging it off some preconceived notion that it's bad?
Yeah. Now on to the very subjective and superficial stuff. Music and art, starting with the soundtrack. Oh my god, he's back! Yes, the composer of the DS games, David J. Franco, makes a return here, and it's so good to have him back. The soundtrack, as per usual, hits different. You've got bangers like Celebration Wappo Style, Caught in a Trance, Treetop Twang, and a ton more. Hell, I bought this game on Steam solely for the soundtrack. Aldark's theme is one of my favorites. Just the build-up alone keys you in that maybe he has something to do with Wilfried. Comes with 2 bonus tracks like in the DS games. 80s Wappo Wave and 90s Wappo Club, which are both good, but there's also an acoustic cover of Real Life, the ending theme from the next chapter. That's so cool! Well, a lot of tracks aren't as strong as the ones I just listed. It's pretty good. My main issue comes with how the levels are structured. A lot of the tracks just kind of blended together for me, and that might have been from the exclusion of separate worlds. I don't recognize a song from a specific level because there's nothing to associate it with. Speaking of level themes, they're just kinda there. All of these look good visually, sure, but it feels so generic. Supposed to be exploring people's minds, seeing their thoughts. I don't think the recesses of Crazy Barks' mind looks like this. Again, they just slap a theme on there and it doesn't matter if it fits. I get that they might have been on a limited budget, but at least try to match themes with the character. They did that with the shadow encounters, so why stop there? Now, visually the game looks good. The way they meshed together vector and pixel art in the levels made me cringe at first, but it works. I guess. The pixel art looks nice, and I liked how they tried to mimic the style of the official art, but personally I wish they went with the style the older games have. I just think the pudgier designs were cuter and more expressive. The Human Realm and Raposa Realm felt way too similar. I get that they're supposed to be 2 sides of the same coin, but there should be some sort of distinguishing factor that keeps them from meshing into each other. At the very least, having a different color palette or making the human characters a bit more different from the Raposa would have helped differentiate the two a little more. But outside of that, I really like the new art style. You can tell they were on a limited budget from the isometric view. It makes it so you have less frames to draw, but I like it. It feels like the DS games with a modern twist. Well, I guess that's pretty much it.
But you never told us what happened in the game.
Yeah, I don't think I can keep breathing unless I know what happens in Drawn to Life 2 Realms for the Nintendo Switch, PC, and mobile platform.
Okay then. As per usual, this will contain spoilers for the story, so if you don't want that, skip to here. For starters, let's cover what happened between the events of this game and the next chapter. It all starts after Mike wakes up after the crash. Of course, Mike and his sister survive, but their parents don't. This is even implied earlier in the game when we learn that they're living with their uncle. After that, everyone tried to find something to blame for what happened and ended up blaming each other. Of course, we know it's Aldark's doing, but it greatly impacted Mike and he started blaming himself. His friend, Allie, who was most likely the inspiration for Mary, was the only one who really cared for him. But later in the game, Aldark's influence takes her over and it breaks Mike. He runs away to Rapoville, away from his friends and family. And as if things couldn't get any worse, Mary tells Mike that after Wilfried was defeated, she let the shadow leak into the human realm. Mike ends up confronting the town police officer since he supposedly was the one who caused the crash. But in the end, after you intervene, the two finally calm down. Mike forgives him and tells you he knows where Aldark is. And with that, you confront him together. As the shadow starts to consume the whole town, you take on Aldark in one final challenge that tests everything you learned throughout the game in the most epic way possible. Is what I would be saying if I actually beat it. Long story short, I started it one day, got stuck on the second section and said, I'll come back to it later. Later came, I go to the area where the cutscene is supposed to play, and the screen goes black, but the sound effects still work. But when the screen comes back, it skipped over the level entirely, playing the cutscene that's supposed to play after you finish it. Don't ask me how this happened, I don't know what I did, but it's less that I have to play. Aldark gets mad, says he'll come back, and you return to Rapoville as the Raposa congratulate and thank you for a job well done. I'll be honest, I'm kinda underwhelmed. It's a good ending, but it feels like it just sorta ends. There's no tense final battle, no heartwarming ending sequence. I'm especially disappointed that there was no final battle. Drawn to Life has always been really good at that sort of thing. It feels lacking. It feels like there should be more.
So, the final verdict?
Final verdict is that it's decent. It's not as good as the next chapter, but not as bad as the Wii game. Just okay. The game lacks polish, some decisions were questionable, it's not what a lot of people were hoping for with a new Drawn to Life, but I enjoyed my time with it. I think the best thing about this game is, well, it exists. After the whole bankruptcy debacle with THQ, Tringali made 3 attempts to bring back the series. The 2015 pitch failed, the 2017 pitch ended up becoming Super Mash, another game by Digital Continue, and the 2019 pitch ended up becoming the game we know today. On top of that, assuming development started soon after the pitch was greenlit, that gave them around a year to finish it. That's a crazy short development cycle! They definitely recognized how deeply people cared about the series, considering the amount of fan service and how much they interacted with fans on the Drawn to Life for All Discord server. There's promise of another game if Two Realms does well, but sadly, I don't know if that'll happen. Reviews are mixed, 505 is barely advertising it outside the Twitter account. For fuck's sake, it's digital only! That's how you know the publisher didn't care! It's kinda sad seeing the series potentially end on such a low note. But then again, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And what a journey we've been on with this series. If you're a fan, I highly encourage you to at least try Two Realms, or at least pick it up on sale. Sure, it might not be what you were looking for, sure it's different, sure it has issues, but if you look past that, you find a pretty good puzzle platformer and hope for Drawn to Life to have a future. I'll always hold Drawn to Life close, and I know many do as well. So let's hope for the best. Here's to hoping that this is not the end. Oh hey, we made it! Yep, this is definitely the place.
I guess this is it.
Well, thanks guys, I'll see you around. I don't mean to get all sappy, but I want to say thank you, again, for helping me get this far. And for everything. I promise I'll never forget you guys again. Wait, what's that white thing off in the distance?
Well, there he goes.
Oh, well, looks like I'm gonna be here a while.
Damn it, I should have brought my DS.
What the? Who's there?
Why are you back? I just want to chat is all.
About what? I already said what I needed to. Things are fine. I'm fine.
Look, I know something's missing in both of us. Our sense of self, you could say. Hell, I'm about as empty as you are. But being alone in here doing your show or whatever isn't gonna do anything for you.
And what would you know?
Enough to know that something isn't right. And what's with that weird costume?
Stop!
Don't snap at me! God, you don't have to be so aggressive.
You don't get it! This is how I'm gonna be happy, and if you don't like it, then leave me alone!
In fact, I think I'll show you out right now.
Wait, what the hell is that?
See you around.
Wow, I just remembered something really important. Ow! Two head injuries in one day. That's a new record. So that's where it was!
You know, I'm not surprised you came back, just a little annoyed, since, you know, now you're here to potentially ruin my plans. Probably should have counted for that, but hindsight is 20/20.
Hello to you too.
I tried to do this the easy way, now I'm gonna have to do this the hard way.
Look, I just want to talk.
Oh, so now you want to talk things out, huh? You had your chance. You had multiple chances, and you blew it!
What the? What the? Okay, this works. Look, just calm down and listen to me for a second.
Calm down. Calm down. I tried being patient. I tried to work things out peacefully. And where did that get me? Fucking nowhere! No! That doesn't matter anymore. I got one shot left, and I'm going to make it count. Any last words?
A few, actually.
Make it quick.
To start off, I'm sorry.
Don't you think it's a little late for that now?
Let me finish! Look, I had no clue what was going on, or even what I did. All I knew is that you popped in every now and then, threatened me, and the button sent you away. You were gone. You cleaned up the place, and I thought that was the end of it. Nothing more, nothing less. You were the bad guy, and that was all I knew.
Hurry it up already!
When I fell through the void, I heard things I don't even remember saying. Things I'm sure you hear repeated on a daily basis. I wouldn't wish that kind of torture on anybody, and I don't want to keep torturing you like this. I'm not asking you to forgive me, but if you're gonna talk, I'll listen. I promise. Let's turn things around, okay?
And how am I supposed to know you're not lying?
Well, you can sense that stuff, right? And even if you can't, well, you still have my word. I swear on that.
I'm tired, man. This all seems too good to be true. If you really are gonna keep to your word, then I guess I'll trust you. I'll break that, and I swear my threats won't be empty anymore. You got that?
Yep. So, we good now?
I guess so.
Well, if we're fixing anything, we need to fix this first before it kills us both!
Oh, right.
Come on. I got nothing. This place is gonna blow no matter what.
Can't believe I'm doing fucking this today.
Are we good? Everyone in one piece?
I think so. Can't see much past my waist, so no comment on that.
Hey, thanks for saving my ass back there.
I had to save mine too. Thanks for keeping your word, I guess. We'll keep your word, right?
I said I would.
Good. Now then, let's talk.